Exactly. Yes. Amen.
Bring you some good luck.
Amen. I love it. Oh my gosh. Amen. Oh my goodness. It's so good to see you. And I just want to do a little check-in before we start. How are you holding up with everything? And there's so much going on in the world. Every day you wake up is something,
Yeah.
So what are you doing to protect your spirit? How are you holding up these days?
I mean, every day is literally, like you said, something new, something different, up and down. So I've been just trying to work with myself as far as just going with the flow of everything. This morning I went out and I took a walk. I live out here in California, and there's like, a lot of little trails and stuff in the mountains, and so that was really refreshing. But yeah, I did. I woke up a little heavy this morning, and I'm just like, whew, I think, real soon we're gonna probably like delete some apps off of my phone that allow too much of the world to come in. But
I mean, that's real though. Taking a social media break is necessary. There's times where I have to just recharge and not even post anything or not even look at anything or watch another video or read another article because it just weighs on your spirit. And as artists, we take that in.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's like we're walking around very, very heavy. And so it's already heavy enough. So to add that, because we take so much in. So I'm not mad at that. And you have to do, you have to do what you have to do. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing some self-care, taking walks and everything. I need to get out and walk. I've been walking by the water, so I need to do that more.
Oh yeah. No, that's great. I need to get by some water. We don't have any out where I'm at, dry and desert. But yeah, I've been burning my sage and all that stuff, just trying to just protect this part, So yeah.
Well, with that said, I wanted to, the reason why I wanted to have you a part of my show and series is because I really like the world to know about the people in my life, the people that are doing beautiful things on TV, on stage, off, stage and TV. And I really wanted to talk to you about your writing because a lot of people know you from the Oval. They know you as an actress playing Lily, but there's so much more to you than just being an actress and your love of writing. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and why you started to write your one-woman show and how that led into your foundation?
When I was I would say like middle school, high school, and actually it's really funny because I just found a book that I wrote when I was 8 years old. I mean, it's not like a book, but it's just, like maybe 10 pages or whatever. But I just liked telling stories. I just liked writing and creating little stories. And when I was in high school, we had this teacher come and like talk to us about creating monologues and writing your own monologue. And I just took that so serious, and he led us through an exercise, and it was like a week-long thing. And by the end of the week, we had to perform this monologue. And at the time, my father was incarcerated for the first time, that I was, really aware of, and that had really impacted me. When I was in high school, he had gone to prison in my ninth grade year and was serving a 4-year sentence for nonviolent drug offense. And no one knew. Like, I didn't talk about it with anyone. Like only my family knew, but friends at school, teachers, no one knew. And I just remember writing this monologue, and it was detailing a visit with my dad and like what that was like. And I don't know, I just felt so like brave that I had to. I don't know, something just came in me, and I was like, oh, I can write something and tell a little bit of my story. And so I just remember like writing this monologue, and as if I was just having a conversation with my dad, and the teacher was just like very impressed by it, and the students, my classmates were like, what the heck, like, is that real? And I was like, yeah, it is. And like I was a little bit of a pariah after that. They were like, oh, that's that girl, whose dad is in prison or whatever. But I just remember thinking about that and how just empowering and liberating that was for me at such a young age, to just be able to just share like what that experience is. And then years later, when I moved to LA from New York, my dad had gotten incarcerated again. He went back to prison again. And this time he was serving an 8-year prison sentence, again for nonviolent drug offenses. And it was just really challenging because I think my whole life, like we see these families on TV, and we want the white picket fence, and the normalcy of it all. And I just remember moving out to LA, and he was probably in his second year of his sentence, and I was just having a really tough time, just like struggling with that reality of him being in prison, and also just adjusting to a new life in Los Angeles. It was just the transition from New York to LA was just very, very, very rough. I mean, at one point was just sleeping on the floor in my studio apartment, didn't have a mattress, like nothing, like
I've been there. I've been there. I didn't even have a mattress, so I had the floor. So
yeah, I was sleeping on the floor. I remember someone I knew that gave me some pillows and some towels, and I was like,
yes,
thank you.
amen,
amen. So that's what
I had a friend give me some veggie burgers. I was like, okay, veggie burger and the floor. I didn't have any food. My refrigerator was empty.
Girl, look, I worked at the Waffle. It's almost like a fancy Waffle House here in LA. That was my first job in Los Angeles. So I was, stocking up on some waffles and eggs. Like that was my meal, like every day. But I was just like at a crossroads with just, the challenges my dad was going through, and like even the challenges I was going through with transitioning, stepping out to Los Angeles and trying to be an actress. And so I wasn't really like on good speaking terms with him, but he kept writing me, and I never wrote him back. I just kind of put the letters all like in a little shoebox in the closet somewhere. And I just remember just hitting a really like big breaking point in Los Angeles. Just not like just literally not knowing what was going to happen next, and just questioning my life and where was I going? Should I go back to New Orleans? Like all of that. And something just came over me, like, just read your dad's letters, just read them. And I started reading these letters, and they were funny, they were encouraging, they were heartfelt, they were a lot about his life and things that had happened to him as a child, and just kind of detailing like what his journey was, and just a lot that I didn't know. My dad, he's biracial. His mother, who was white, had an affair with his father, who was black. And so this was in the 1960s in like the deep backwoods of Louisiana. Like my grandmother got pregnant by a black man, and they were really in love. Like they, were trying to figure out how to sneak off. And when my dad was born, it just brought out the best and the worst of what that world was at the time. I mean, he detailed, seeing the KKK burn crosses on their front yards, hearing stories about his father being run out of Louisiana, and there's a lot of speculation that my grandfather was killed by the KKK, just all of these like things. And my dad was sharing these stories in his letters to me from prison, and so I just started to get my actor brain on and be like, if my dad was a character I was playing, like I would come at him with so much compassion and empathy, just realizing that this is a man who had some hard challenges and came into this world under such crazy circumstances, and the only way that he was able to fully cope with it was to use drugs. And thinking back, like what would I do in those shoes? Like I'd probably be in the same mind space. And so I don't know, just something just started happening there. Well, I was like, I want to tell this man's story, and I also want to honor him in a sense because he did raise me too, and he taught me such really great values. And I always knew that my dad loved me. He struggled a lot with drugs, but he loved me. And that's just where the idea of creating Michael's Daughter came from. It was a way to just kind of outlet my pain of what I was going through, honor my dad, and then just share my story. Because also at that time too, when I first came out to LA, I was just auditioning for a lot of roles that were just like hypersexualized, and and I that's fun, and that's, I'm not putting anybody down for doing those type of roles or anything, and the roles that I have done that are like that.
But so much more to us than that.
Exactly.
There's so much more to that.
exactly. And that's just what I kept thinking. I was like, I feel like the world that I've come from and the life that I lived so far, I can't diminish it down to just wearing a swimsuit and hopping into bed with some guy on screen.
Yeah.
Like I have to really honor all these different parts of me and my history and my family's history. And so I wanted to share this story with, the Los Angeles community or whoever would listen, just to
Yeah.
get a different side of like who I am and start, you know, putting my truth out there and honoring my dad. So that's what I did. And it was very liberating. It was very exhausting too. I mean,
I
I
can
did it for a
imagine.
couple of
Yeah.
years. And, every time I got on stage, it was just opening up, the wounds again. But slowly and slowly they were healing more. And I had a moment where I was like, what? I just have to kind of put this on the shelf and maybe do a part two, down the line,
Mm-hmm.
because so much has
Yeah.
happened since,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But what I do now with that type of work is I've just transitioned it into working with youth who have similar backgrounds. Um,
Nice.
One of my survival gigs, always, ever since I was 16 years old, was teaching acting or being like a drama teacher for summer camps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was living in New Orleans. I started doing that work. And New Orleans, there's a lot of statistics about New Orleans, but there are a lot of youth in New Orleans that have a lot of parents that are incarcerated. So, when I would work with these young people back home and, listen to their stories and find out how similar they are to mine, I was like, there's something here. I mean, you know, there's so many kids that have that experience, and so many, people, black people, brown people in this country that have the experience of being incarcerated or, coming into contact with law enforcement. And I just figured, maybe it's a crazy thought, maybe not, but I just figured that the more people hear, the voices and the stories of people impacted by
Mm-hmm.
mass incarceration, it could just play a
Mm-hmm.
part into ending mass incarceration, because it's all about perspective and perception.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, when I put my story out there and I'm sharing, hey, I got a father incarcerated, initially, people thought that I was just some little, pretty girl wanting to be an actor. They didn't know like how
Mm.
deep it went, and
Yeah. That's why I wanted
the
to talk to you today because it go you because of your story. But go ahead. Yes.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, it's always, for me, was always part of a survival mechanism, like it was my drug. And, I realized that a lot of young people need that outlet as well. I mean, they
Yeah.
need to have a space to be able to share their voice, be heard, and just be accepted, and be allowed to just spill it all out in a safe way, in a safe space, because that's what I learned from working with a lot of young people, especially out here in Los Angeles. It's like they don't have that outlet. So naturally, it's easier to pick up a gun, or naturally it's easier to pick up some drugs, or, join
Yeah.
the local gang or whatever. And all of those things are just all part of a bigger, story of what oppression has done to us as a people. But if we
Yeah.
could just find a way to just present a different perspective, and give a different perception to what, is going on in the background, I think I just think that some change can happen. And so that's why I created the Michael Storter Foundation. It started off as a Michael Dorter project, which was just an annual summer camp, media art summer camp, where youth get to, create a short film or create a stage play and just tell whatever story they want to tell. And but now we've transitioned into a nonprofit organization to where, my big thing is that I want to just have this work be a continuous thing and not just designated to the summer. And I also want to just be able to provide a well of scholarship funds, for youth
Mm.
that want to go to college, and also emergency funds, for families. Because I mean, I remember being in high school. I remember, not having money to get a clarinet or get a new pair of shoes, or, school clothes and stuff, because, my father was in prison and we didn't have that additional source of, income coming in. And so things were just hard, and so I understand what that is. And I just want to just create a resource for families and youth just going through that. So Michael Zora Foundation, we're this this is the official year that we are now a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So yeah.
Yes, I love that. So where can people find your organization? Because especially during this time, during the pandemic, I'm sure anything can help. People can reach out and help, especially with emergency funds. Find that website link for you. Can you let people know who are watching and who will watch this later?
www.michaelsorter.org. That's what it is. Maybe I can give you the link later on, and you can
definitely. And I'll attach it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll put it in so people can click on it. So guys, if you watch this later, and then after I post this, I will put the link. The link will be there. You can click on. You can support Ciera and her foundation. And the question that came up to me while you were talking, has your father been able to see the show?
Oh, girl. Yes. I mean, and it was, I still get chills when I think about it. I got asked to do a workshop up at ACT up in San Francisco. And that was the first year my dad had been out of prison. And part of the workshop was working with youth at the downtown alternative school. And these were youth that had been incarcerated or, had been in school for longer than what was normal. And so a big part of that workshop was just working with them and having them create, a monologue. And my dad had been out of prison for like a couple months, and he was able to come up. And that was also his first time watching it. So I performed it with the students. I performed it to the students on stage, in a theater. And my dad sat in the back and watched it.
I'm feeling it, just imagining. I mean, just because of your story, to have him be able to see it, yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, so I'm really glad that he was able to see you perform and just really heal and work through, the hurt and the pain. I'm glad he was able to witness that.
Yeah, it was special, and it just, I think he needed to feel like something, and so to be able to see his story on stage honored, I think he appreciated it. So.
Nice. Well, I can't wait for part 2. So those of you guys who are watching, please keep an eye out for part 2, whenever that is. We're in the middle of a pandemic, so we can't promise anything. But pandemic, after pandemic, we'll talk about after pandemic. But you being from New Orleans, I'm not surprised that you're an artist because of the way New Orleans is made. Bourbon Street, just music, Zydeco, just the arts in general, street performers, all of that. So you grew up with all of that in New Orleans. When was it for you that you knew this is what you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
I think it was 2 parts. So when I was like a little girl, I spent a lot of my time between Texas, Mississippi, and New Orleans. My mom lived in Texas. My mom's mom, lived in Mississippi, and my dad lived in New Orleans. So I kind of went between the 3 of them. And when I was 7 was when I officially was instated in New Orleans to live with my dad. And back then in New Orleans, and I think it still happens a lot in the country, it's mandatory that you go to the school that's in your district or in your neighborhood. And so, we lived in a 3rd ward in New Orleans, an area that was very poverty, drug stricken. Anybody familiar with Master P, he was always, calling out the 3rd ward because that's where he's from. So,
yeah.
But the local school it was rough, to say the least. And here I am, this girl coming from Mississippi with my little country accent, and kids making fun of me and stuff. And so my dad was like, "Oh no, we gotta, we gotta do something because she ain't gonna survive in this school." And so he was working as a busboy at a restaurant in the French Quarter, and he asked his boss if he could use his address to, get me to that school there. And so, my dad pulled a little move, and, I'm very fortunate that he was able to do that.
Yeah, because, a lot of us parents do that.
Yeah,
We do that address thing. It's like, listen, I need that address real quick,
And the fact that don't even get me started. But the fact that
Yeah, I know.
nowadays
That's why I brought it up,
they're
because you know what?
locking up
It's
parents
like,
for doing that.
okay, exactly. Don't get me started. Ooh, that's a whole nother interview, girl. A whole nother interview. But that
Yeah.
it just burns me so much that we, especially our Black mothers and fathers, educate. It just
Yeah. So, I'm so sorry. My phone froze, but I heard
oh, okay.
a lot of
I
what
would
you
just
said. That was weird.
yeah, I would just saying that it drives me nuts that our parents will have to go to prison for wanting to give our kids a better education.
It's so ridiculous, and that
Yeah.
whole thing just needs to be dismantled, But anyway,
Yeah,
another
anyway,
conversation for another time.
So yes, so as you're on your way to this new school.
Yeah, and it was a magnet school. It was an arts-based school, and I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, I got there, and I mean, everything was all about art. Not every single thing. I mean, obviously we had like math and stuff, but it was just like we took cooking classes and dance classes and visual art classes, and then the band. And so I was like, oh man, this stuff is like, this is cool. Getting to learn how to be expressive in all these different ways. And during that time, my dad had also got me a karaoke machine. And I think Pocahontas was like the big princess at the time. I know there's a lot of controversy with Pocahontas right now, but that was my girl back in the day. And so, like, I think that school, it was called McDonald 15. I think it just opened up like a world of creativity. And then getting this karaoke machine and just feeling like, oh wow, like I can express myself was just really liberating, because up until that point, I mean, I was a very shy kid. I was very, very quiet, very untrustworthy of people and adults and stuff. And I think a lot of it was because of the drug abuse that I had seen in my home.
Yeah.
And also the idea of like being shifted around between all the adults and living in Texas, living in Mississippi, living in New Orleans. And so I was very quiet. People always used to describe me as like shy, and, I didn't talk much or anything. And when I just got exposed to the arts, that's when I definitely got, just, I guess, some form of validation. Yeah. And that's just when, I just really started enjoying it. And then I went to a performing arts high school down the line. And that was where I went to New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. And that was where I was like, okay, I really want to do this. Like, there is something here. I feel liberated. I feel empowered. We were learning all the Greek mythology plays and Shakespeare. Nice, and, those are all about just like bearing your soul out but also being strong and composed and learning all the different layers. And I was like, yo, if I could do this as a living and make some money off of it, or just be able to just do it, like, that's what I want to do. And so yeah, that was all of that was just pivotal moments that just changed my life and made me go after being an actor.
Well, speaking of going after, okay, let's talk about this hustle, because guys who are watching, who are just joining, Ciera and I go way back. We did a Tennessee Williams piece, a festival together, and we've been friends ever since. In Province P Town, we met on the boat on the water going across, and been friends ever since. And I want to talk about this hustle and how all of that you just said has gotten you to the Oval. First of all, let's talk about, before we get to the Oval, let's talk about being at Tyler Perry Studios, being there for the grand opening. I've seen the pictures and the videos, and just every Black person, I would think, not just the artist, is out there wishing they could be there and wondering what that's like, because that is history in the making. No one has done what he's doing, and he did that night. So what was that experience like for you? I feel like was it an out-of-body experience? Like, every Black Mecca was there.
I mean, it was just so overwhelming in like the most beautiful way possible. And just, just even watching Tyler Perry from afar, and like just how graceful he's been just throughout like his whole career has just been amazing. I say that because I met him back in 2008 when I was like a featured extra on Madea Goes to Jail. and he was at his original first studio, which is just like this small office space, that they were just operating out of. And then, fast forward to like 10 years later, I do Adia's family funeral, and we're at the new studio. And I mean, it was just at its beginning stages of being built. And I mean, I remember like he has this building called the Dream Building, and it's where you get hair, and makeup, and where the dressing rooms are. And it's like you walk up to it, and before the grand opening and back in 2017, there was just a lot of scaffolding around, but he still had like dream like written up there on it. And I just remember thinking like this is gonna be amazing when it's done, And I hadn't even seen the whole lot. I just remember seeing the building and just seeing dream on it, and I was like, okay, I see what he's doing. I see what he's doing. But then when we go back and I go and do the Oval, I was like, oh my God, like, okay. And then he does the big grand opening where we got to, because when we were filming the Oval, there was only so much of the studio lot that we were able to see. Because, like, our locations were just limited to, like, one space or whatever. But then when the opening happened and we got to go all around and see the different studios that were named after Will Smith and Oprah and John Singleton, like, I was like, this is, I mean, I couldn't even put it into words. Like, I just remember it just like kind of hits you. Like, you're just kind of like, whoa. And then you're like walking alongside Viola Davis and Hillary Clinton. And, you're just like, oh, hi. Oh, hey, Denzel. How are you? You're just like, what is going, and like, I just felt, I was like, yo, and it was just such that year. I mean, that was 2019. That was last year.
Yeah.
For me personally and what I was going through, just how I was transitioning into my own womanhood and, and even just my career transitioning, I just was like, just taking it all in and being like, wow, like, do I even like deserve to be here? Like, this is insane, know? And it was so funny because he was talking about that. He made a speech and he was just saying how, how he went to something similar like that at Oprah's house, and he was just like, do I belong here? And he was just like, Oprah told him, yes, you do. And then he told everybody in the room that was there, he was like, don't ever think for a second that you don't belong here. Like, I want to let you all know that you belong here. Black people, brown people, like, y'all belong here. And, like, in that space, but also, like, in a bigger sense, like, we belong here. And we deserve to be there. And it was amazing. And then the next day, he had a church service. And I just remember T.D. Jakes, he was preaching, and he was just like, okay, I'm about to say this right now. He was like, y'all up in here trying to act all cute and stuff. And he was like, y'all acting like y'all have seen something like this before. He was like, ain't nobody in this room seen anything like this before. So y'all should all of this composed and, stuff. And he was like, let that go. He was just
like, I think I would be a hot mess. I would be a hot mess.
Oh my gosh. I know. I mean, I cried a few times, like, because it was just such a magical experience. And, it just really speaks to who Tyler is, his work ethic, how he grew up, where he came from. I mean, he's a man that literally came from nothing, but just did the work and kept his head down and just kept going, amongst all the critics and the naysayers and stuff. I mean, he just was like, I don't care. Like, whatever, I'm going to do my thing and keep doing it. No one's going to stop me. And it's just inspiring, I mean, it's inspiring to everybody that comes in contact with him. And I just,
I can't imagine. I mean, and you get to go to work every day and see that every day. It's kind of like that's your home. It's like having a home like that has to be so amazing. And now with that said, let's talk about the Oval. For you, I want to know first, when you booked it, how did that hit you? Because Tyler Perry and it's the Oval. Ooh. And then I want to go into how is it being on set and your cast. But let's talk about that, the phone call or the moment.
It was such a, like, just unbelievable process, I would say. Like, I think I was just really shell-shocked throughout it all, because There was just, like I said, there was some transitions going on in my career, and things were happening, and I was just trying to figure out, like, just how to be with like, after doing a movie that just came out, nationwide, and I hadn't been in anything like that before, and
Yeah.
then I was a recurring guest star on She's Gotta Have It, which was also like a big first for me as well, just coming off of working with Spike Lee. And so I was like, oh, okay, all
You've been
right,
working
this
with
is
the greats. You
interesting.
got Kevin
Okay,
Hart, you got
thanks.
Spike Lee. You can work with everybody.
Girl,
All the
I mean,
greats.
and
Dwayne
look, I
Rock
thank God for
Johnson.
that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I don't want to
Yeah.
like flash her resume, guys, but Spike
Oh,
Lee,
Lord.
come on now. Come on. Okay, keep going. But Spike
Look,
Lee,
he's the
hello.
man. He's the man, big time. And so, I just but during all of that, it was like pilot season, and the one thing that I've always stayed true to, and I try to, and I even speak with this about this with young people or people who want to get into the business, is not letting all of those things like define who you are and what you're doing. I think like oftentimes we're so taught and conditioned, like, oh, you're an actor. What have you done? What do you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a recent credit or anything like that, then you must not be an actor. Or if I haven't seen you on TV, you must not be good. And so I was just at a space in my career, my life, where I was just like, okay, there's a lot of chatter going on because I got these roles and this stuff is out and everything, and I'm very grateful for it. But the flip side of it was I was teaching out of high school. Like,
Yeah.
I was actually teaching an August Wilson workshop, which is all about your identity and your legacy. And so I just kept thinking about, do I want to identify as this out of world being that people are trying to get me to, play into? Or, do I want to identify as my authentic self, going out there playing these roles and playing these characters? And so that's just where I was. I just had these big questions, and then I get this audition for the Oval, and I was already just worn out and exhausted between working, between doing all the press stuff for those projects, and also between auditioning for pilot season, because it was like,
Yeah.
pilot season
It's
is
a lot.
crazy. I mean, it's a
It's a
lot,
lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
So I and right before that, I had actually tested for something else that didn't go through, and so I was just like kind of at this place where I was like, God, like, at this stage of it all, like, whatever's meant for me is meant for me. And this movie and this TV show are out, and if these are my last credits ever, like, I feel like I've done it, and I'm grateful, and I'm happy, and I can always be a teacher, like, because it was just, that's where I was. And then I ended up auditioning for the Oval. I was like, okay, all right, had to put myself on tape, had to go in for a callback, and then I go to New York, and I'm like doing stuff where She's Gotta Have It, and then I get a call saying I got to go down to Atlanta to go do another callback, and I was like, okay, all right, not thinking too much of it, not getting too excited or not even getting too nervous, because I was just like, at the end of the day, what's meant for me is meant for me. And I go to this like final callback thing, and there's probably like 100 actors there, and maybe 20 of them, I would say, were auditioning for the role of Lily. And I just remember I was like, don't even play into like taking that in, Ciera. Like, just be in your space, be with who you are. Like, you got a purpose on this planet, and it's not going to be contingent on if you get this or if you don't. And I went in, I did my thing, and didn't hear anything, like, for a while. And what was crazy about all of it, my dad had some health issues, and so I had to go down to New Orleans to go, just be at his side, and it was pretty serious, and so we just weren't sure what was going to happen, and I just kind of had this feeling like I was just like, this is this is all part of my journey, and if I got to say goodbye to my dad now, like, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna make peace with that. And I was just like, God, whatever will you got, like, I'm just gonna rock with it. And it was just so, I don't even know what the meaning is behind all of it now, but I think, you know, I just think that some growth was happening with me, and just right in that moment, I go down and see my dad, and then I get a phone call saying, like, we got a contract for the Oval, and I was like, wait, what?
Wow.
Like, I was
Wow.
just like, I was like, wait, let me. I'm here with my dad. Let me just make sure
Yeah.
he's okay and stuff. I'll get back to y'all. Like, let's. And my dad like pulled through, which was like insane. And he was just like, go to Atlanta, go do your thing. Like, I'm gonna be okay, even if I make it or not. Like, I'm always with you. And I was like, okay. And so yeah, so I ended up getting on a plane again from New Orleans to Atlanta to go do this contract signing and do wardrobe fitting. And it was amazing. And I felt like more so than anything that I was on a mission, and it was a mission to grow, and a mission to um, I don't know, just make even deeper sense of what this profession means, and just what I mean, like who am I, in all of this. And I get to play this role, Lily, of this character who just has this crazy arc, and this crazy like story of being like this weak woman and succumbing to like, her weak desires, then to like,
Yeah.
becoming strong, and learning that she's in a crazy situation, but just figuring out how she's gonna navigate it and be strong on top of that. And a lot of that I feel like resonates with me and who I am, because of I think when you're a person that's survived a lot of trauma, a lot of times you can fall into a lot of victim mentality, victimhood, and not be accountable for your emotions and your feelings and what you're putting out there. And a lot of what your strength is all about is just figuring out how to manage that mindset and manage like who you are, on top of all of that. And so
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned a lot of that from this character, and just learned how to just manage like my vulnerability and like my story and who I am. So
Well, that was
it's
going to
been
be one of
cool.
my next questions for you. Tell me your favorite thing, if you can, about playing Lily.
Oh man, I just like the way she learns. Like I me personally, like I'm a very observant person, but I think like she's taking notes from everybody around her. Like the first lady, she's like, oh, don't be like that. Don't, okay. Oh, but I could talk to her like this, like so.
Yeah.
It's I like how she learns. I like her learning style. She's considerate and she takes her time, and then she responds. So I like that about Lily, about playing her.
And what's one of your favorite things about being on set?
Oh my gosh. But people are always like, "That's crazy that you guys work so fast, and like y'all shoot a lot in a day." But I actually really love it. Like to have a theater background and go in and do that, like it's a lot of fun. I feel like I'm doing a 3 week run of a play that that just so happens to be filmed. And so what I love about that is it's just you're in constant mode of like your character. So it's just like the minute I get on set, I get in hair and makeup, and I'm like, I'm Lily now. And everybody, it's one of the first sets that I've worked on, really throughout my whole career, that just everybody's just so happy and like just having a good time. I mean, like we start off the morning with a group prayer led by Tyler Perry, and like and that stuff is like, it's so unorthodox in the business, but it's so necessary. It's just like, I mean, I know it's great to go in and just like do your job and do the work and then go home and clock out, but I think the coming together and just being in commune with each other, it's great. Like I love it, and I like experiencing that. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're winding down towards the end, but before we go, I just want to check in. I know to you. If you guys want to ask a question, I can't promise that Ciera's going to answer it because there's certain things she can't say or can't say about the show. So just so y'all know. But if there's a question you want to ask, I can't promise she'll answer it, but please feel free to shout out your love to her about the show or to her, and ask if you like. And if not, we're just going to move on to your cherry pick. But we'll give a few seconds to see if anybody, because a lot of people are speaking to you. I love that. But please do, if there's anything you want to ask about Lily or Ciera, or just what you've heard about. Ever been to Alabama? That's a question.
Yeah, my family's from Alabama. I got family from Alabama, so from Mobile, Alabama, and actually my great great grandma, or my great grandma, not my great great, she was from Utah, Alabama. I challenge anybody to Google that. It is EW, no, ETAW, Utah, Alabama. Anyway,
Oh,
it is the smallest town in the entire world. They only have one Piggly Wiggly, and
oh,
my
Piggly
grandma,
Wiggly. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, Piggly Wiggly. My family's from Shreveport, and so Piggly
oh,
Wiggly.
yeah, yeah. That's
Piggly
what they actually
Wiggly.
serve boudin in Piggly Wiggly. So if you know anything about boudin,
Ooh.
I would highly suggest stopping at Piggly Wiggly to get some. So yeah,
Oh
but
wow.
that's where
And then
my family's from. So, yeah.
nice. And then Huggy Bear asked me about my girl here, the Emmy. Huggy Bear. So the Emmy is a Emmy for best supporting actress for a daytime digital drama. And
Yes.
It's a show called After Forever. It's on Amazon Prime. We're in our second season. It's our little engine that could, right? It's a show that it came out. A lot of people started to watch it, and we're becoming popular by word of mouth. And then next thing you know, people start to like my character, and then I get nominated, and I won the damn Emmy. So hey, so Huggy Bear, if you're interested, please go. After Forever on Amazon Prime, and we're in our second season. Third season's on hold because, of course, you know, pandemic stuff. But and then I decided to shout out and talk to my friends during this time, and hence why I am talking to my beautiful friend Ciera. So yes, that's why the Emmys
And I
come
just
back.
gotta say, like, that is just like, I mean, you are such an inspiration. Like, you need to just do this, like, all featuring yourself one day. Like, seriously.
Oh my god.
I know the journey, girl. And then you get that Emmy, and it's like, yo, so that's amazing. Like, congratulations isn't even the word. Like, just universal congratulations, like astronomical congratulations. That's
You're gonna
amazing.
give me all. You're gonna get me all emotional. But okay, anybody
Girl.
else have another question they want to ask? If not, we're gonna move on to our cherry pick at I Want Ciera. So at the end of every interview, guys, I do a cherry pick, and I ask my guests what their cherry pick is, and it's just a way to pay it forward, so you guys can get to know more about what's in the community. If there's a book, say somebody brings up, or a website or organization, it's just a way for you guys to get to know more of what's happening with us, by us, and for us. So, Ciera, what's a cherry pick for you?
My cherry pick is Lori Battle. So Lori Battle she is called a success coach. She is a beautiful woman. She's based out here in Los Angeles, and I met her because I volunteered for. She does these things every year called the Dream Girl Luncheon, where she just gets like a group of motivational speakers to come in and just talk to women, Black women in the business who were just trying to get their dreams off the ground and going. And but Lori, like she herself, she's a life coach. And after I met her and just her energy, everything, I was like, what's this life coaching thing? Like, who does this? Like, what is this? Like, I've never like heard of this and never done that. And so I worked with her for a little while, and I think a lot of things are at play with how some things have transformed in my life, but I think she played a really, really huge part in it, and just like helping me change my mindset a lot. So Lori Battle, you can find her on Instagram. You can also go to loribattle.com. That's her
Nice.
business, that's her site. And I think the world of her. Like, she's just amazing, and she has such a great spirit. And her daughter, her name is Mary Christina Battle, who is a singer, an aspiring singer, and so she just put her first video out, which is amazing. But they're such a beautiful family.
Oh, nice.
I adore them so much. So please, Lori Battle.
Love that. Yeah. Okay, Lori Battle, guys. Make sure you guys look up Lori Battle life coaching. I love it because there's times we all need somebody in our corner helping us get through it. Because this is, like I said, the hustle. Come on now.
Yeah, especially in this business. And she works with a lot of actors and stuff, and and it's just what I find is beautiful. I mean, like, for those of us that have like gone to therapy and stuff, and no like disrespect to to white therapists or anything like that, but when you work with, someone who's like you, Black woman, like there's just a certain common ground that you have, and
Yeah.
just even just certain language, like just like a mutual understanding and respect. So when I was working with Lori, getting my life coaching, getting my success coach, in play, like that was that was just amazing, and just really shifted some things in my life and my mind and stuff. So yeah,
Nice. I
it's
love that.
important.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for
It's
having me.
I'm so glad you were available to talk to. It's great seeing your face. I love
Me
your smile.
too.
I love you, who you
I
are, and
just
your energy.
love you too,
I
girl.
know I
Like
love you.
I
I'm just
love.
so happy for you. Like I just remember our conversations, and look how we're just our
Yeah.
steps are being ordered, and we're doing it. We're doing the damn thing, as my mom would say. You're doing the damn thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Oh my God.
honey.
What's
Yes.
so funny too is I think I still have those pictures on Facebook from
Yeah.
remember when we
Wait,
were
when we doing the paparazzi,
yes,
pictures.
oh my God. That was so we did this festival called the Tennessee Williams Festival in Cape Cod, right?
Yes.
And at one point, like it was like transitioning seasons or whatever. So like we were wearing scarves like when we didn't really need to or whatever. But like at one point, I think Cherry, did you start it? Somebody started it, and you had
Yes,
like
I
it was like
started
all
it.
wrapped
Yes.
up, and then you had like sunglasses on, and I was like, I'm at the paparazzi you're behind, and so like, and then you were just like, no more pictures.
Oh my gosh,
We just all started doing it. Like
I'm gonna go look for some of those pictures because that was so fun. It was like the camera, and then we had to do one with the paparazzi in our face, and we don't want the camera in our face.
yeah,
But then we had to do one where the camera, when they finally, we just give in and we go, fine, take the picture.
yes, exactly. And we're like walking up the stairs and stuff, and like there were like angles where like we were like taking it like from above, like it made no sense, but it was so funny. Like I just remember.
It's because we knew the paparazzi gonna be coming after, so we had to practice.
Yeah,
We just had to practice.
We had to practice. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Such great.
Oh my God. Anyway, girl, I love you so much.
I love you too.
Thank you
so
for the
much,
laughter.
Terry.
I'm so glad we got to do this. Thank you. And guys, for everybody else, thank you for joining. And I'll see you. I do these every Wednesday at 3:00. And then what I do is I post them up on my page on Sunday, hence the name Sundays with the Cherry on Top, because the goal is to have an episode out every Sunday when I'm not taking vacations, things like that. So is there any last words you want to say, Ciera, before we sound out?
I just honestly am just so grateful for this time. I mean, I started off this morning like this world, and now I'm just like, yay, this world.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that makes me happy. Yes, I'm glad I could do that for you, because some days are hard. It's hard out here, so I understand. Mm-hmm. There's days I wake up and, like I told you on the phone, I don't even want to get out of bed.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had those days.
Yeah. But I'm here, girl. So, let's just text, call each other, get each other through this, because, we can't get through this alone. So,
that's so
all right. I love you, girl.
Love you too. Thank you again.
Good seeing you. Okay. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.